Hello and welcome to this episode of Kaleidoscope the Podcast. With me, your host, Valerie Crozier-Nicholl, and me as the guest. I had hoped to do this at the end of series 3 as like the closing podcast for the series before Christmas. And then recruit guest speakers, etc. for series 4 in January, February time and release it in March. However, timelines didn't quite work for me. At the end of series 2, I said I had stepped off the hamster wheel of going for scans and going to see consultants and so on and so forth. And I would ring them if anything, if I needed them. And if you follow me on Facebook or wherever, or a personal friend or whatever, you might know that in July, on the 22nd of July, Mary Magdalene's feast day, strangely enough, the early hours of that morning, I ended up in hospital with a severe pain in my lower left quadrant. Where the ovarian cancer started, right back at the beginning. And they said at the time I had ascites, and that's fluid that leaks from the tumours. By the time the consultant seen me the next morning, he thought something had twisted and untwisted by the time he got to see me, because I was a lot better than I had been the night before. I wasn't good by any stretch of the imagination, but I was better than I had been the night before. So they let me home. And things did improve, but slowly and not enough. So I ended up back at my GP, and I'd be playing with things all day here because I need to ground to myself and need to, so I'd be lifting a crystal to play with it. I ended up back at the GP and I was low in iron, hemoglobin and B12. So they started me on B12 and iron, and I was taking the iron every other day. And I had to go back after 3 months to get my bloods taken. And things were just not right, even after getting the B12 and the iron. So one of the days, Stephen and I took the dog for a walk, and I walked from the car park to the dog park and sit in the dog park and then walk back to the car. And all in, it wouldn't be a quarter of a mile. And remember, I sat in the dog park. I wasn't walking around the dog park. I sat in the dog park. And by the time I got back to the car, I vomited. And then maybe a week or so later, I parked and walked around. I was going to the bakery, and little bakeries and little chippies and things in our town like cash. So I was going to the hole in the wall. And I forgot you couldn't nip through where I used to nip through anymore. They're building and stuff. I had to go down, and I met someone, and I love people, and I love talking, and I love listening. Hence the podcast. And I'm so nosy. And so I stood for a while. I stood for as long as I could. And then when they said, "How are you?" And I went, "I'm not great. And standing here is a problem. I need to go on." And they went, No, sorry. Not their fault. I should have spoke up earlier. And I walked up to the bakery, got what I needed, walked back to the car. And by the time I got there, I didn't know whether I was going to pass out, vomit, or what was going to happen. And I had to sit in the car and gather myself, is how I would say it, until I was able to drive home. And things like that, just little things like that. So, and when you're ill, your world gets smaller and smaller anyway. So I haven't been doing big, long drives. I got Holistic Integrative Services from Action Cancer. And that was kind of the longest drive I was doing. And one of them, I very nearly didn't go back after because of the weather and Christmas and so on and so forth. It took me 2 hours to get home from Belfast. It's normally 30 minutes, and it took 2 hours. And so it kind of had that drive had undone everything they had done with the acupuncture and so on and so forth. So I did go back, I just planned my route better for coming home and went a little bit further out of my way to make sure I didn't end up in the centre town. Um, so I decided to apply for a blue badge for those days when I was at my worst and couldn't walk and maybe needed to go to the GP or whatever on my own. Most of the time, Stephen works, Catherine work. And if I'm only nipping up to the GPs to get blood pressure taken or get bloods taken or something, I'm not going to bring them home from work to do that for me if I can possibly drive myself. But sometimes it is that it's not even the driving, it's getting parked. And sometimes it's the driving because it's the pain in the lower left quadrant. So I then also at that time phoned the clinical nurse specialist because the breathing was becoming harder. And I thought it might be the ascites that was getting worse. So part of the plan was with the clinical nurse specialist I seen in Antrim area, she said, if this gets worse, ring me and we'll get you up for an ultrasound scan. I don't know why I have difficulty saying that, but I do. And when she came back off, when I phoned, she was on annual leave. And when she came back off annual leave, she got me up the day she came back off annual leave, which was fantastic. And it turned out that I didn't have ascites at all. What I had was a cyst, which would explain the pain rolling over in bed and stuff, because as you're moving, it's kind of staying and it's a delayed movement. As you're walking, you're stretching that part and so on and so forth. So it explained the pain, it explained the tiredness, some of the tiredness. It also, for me, explained the fluid in the tummy that they thought was ascites. Because of low iron and low hemoglobin and low B12, thought it was actually a bleed, and they ruled that out. But to my mind, then the huge pain and the fluid was probably the cyst had burst, which is why I wasn't in so much pain by the time the consultant seen me the next day. And when I say that, I'd seen plenty of doctors through the day and through the night before. But when I spoke to the clinical nurse specialist in Belfast, she had said to phone clinical nurse specialist in Antrim, which I did. She would get me the palliative care team to come out and do an assessment, so that even if I didn't need them right now, I was on their books. Because it sounded to her like the cancer was misbehaving itself, as she put it. And if I wanted to, I could go back up and speak to a consultant. And I said, yes, I think that would be a good idea, because I know lots of people. I'm part of granulosa cell tumor sister survivors Facebook group, both the worldwide one and the UK one. And I'm friends with some ladies in Northern Ireland that have granulosa cell tumor. So it's not that any of this is new to me. Like I said at the beginning, I'm nosy, so I really do my research. Being nosy is fantastic if you need to do research, because other people go down rabbit holes and get lost. I go down rabbit holes. I do get lost, but I love it because I'm finding out all this information. And our GPs are general practitioners, so they don't have time to, which is why they pass you on to consultants that are specialists. But even our gynae oncologists, whether they're surgical team or oncology team, they're generalist in that area. They know about gynecological cancers, but there are many gynecological cancers, and there are many, many, many patients. And granulosa cell tumours accounts for about 2% of the population. So they really don't have time to do the research to the level that I have the time for. And I get that. I'm not, it's a little bit sad. It's a little bit sad they don't have the time. It's very sad that there are so many cancer patients. But I'm not sad for me, and I'm not angry about that. I completely get it. They do not have the time to look at maybe one person in 100 who has a different type of cancer. Um, so I kind of thought, let's go back and ask ascites. So the ascites, I was thinking, why was I telling you that story? The ascites. Um, although I know people who have ovarian cancer get ascites, didn't think it was something granulosa cell tumor patients got. Um, so I thought I'll go back to the oncologist and see what other symptoms can I expect, and if the cancer is, let's get another scan. She suggested, so I had a telephone call with her first, and she suggested another scan. So I kind of thought from July to December time, that would be November time, that would be a good idea. That would be the 3 months, more than 3 months. And we would see how quickly it is growing or not growing, or what it's doing, what way it's misbehaving. And from that, she might have a better idea of a prognosis. Because when I'd seen her before, I was having no symptoms, bar tiredness. There were on a little, tiny, little, occasionally achy thighs. I wasn't having any symptoms. So for me, she couldn't have said how long a piece of string was. Now, I don't believe she can say how long a piece of string is now, but she can make a more informed guess, her best guesstimate on my list of symptoms. And they're really only going on the scans and what I'm telling them. And a lot of what I'm telling them could be down to the lower. And there's this lovely catch-22 thing in the middle of all this, where there's a thing called hepcidin in your body that regulates how your body uses iron. Now, I might not describe this perfectly. I'm not a medical person. I've done the research, I've read it. I might not describe it beautifully. If you really want to know about it, go and do the research, go and talk to your doctor. And what it does is, in incidents of high inflammation, cancer, so on and so forth, it can actually lock the iron in the blood cells. So you're not getting to use the iron. And there's no test for it. So I could have plenty of iron in my body, but I just can't use it right now because of the cancer. And taking iron tablets raises the hepcidin even more. So it's that catch-22 where they're trying to treat the low iron with iron capsules, but that might be raising the hepcidin, and so it becomes a vicious circle, which is just fun. And this is the thing where I say about, I am so nosy and I love research. And I went in and I said to the oncologist about this, and she had never even heard of the hepcidin. And I'm like, oh my Lord. So there's no way she knew about a test or any of the rest. So again, she's making her best guesstimate based on the information she has to hand. When in actual fact, I might be a little bit worse at the minute because the hepcidin is raised and I'm not getting to use the iron. So I got my scan on the 10th of December, and I went to see her on the 30th of December. And it has taken me till now, the 6th of January, to make the podcast because I had to go around and tell family. And that has been one of the hardest days I have, I think, ever had. Maybe not ever, but certainly up there. Because the consultant said I have months and months to live, not years and years. Now, I still think I'm going to live till I'm 86. Oh, I've gone up 2 years. It used to be 84. And therefore, it's going to be 336 months that I live. And she's not convinced. She's not convinced it's going to be that many months. So, and one of the things with granulosa cell tumor is they don't really. I remember sitting in her office with her 10 years ago, nearly 10 years ago. It'll be 10 years in, I think, April, May time. After I got my diagnosis, practically begging her, please give me chemotherapy or radiotherapy because they'd burst the tumor. That's standard practice, to burst the tumor to get it out. But that's the worst thing you can do with granulosa cell tumor because it spreads seedlings everywhere. And I would practically beg them to give me chemotherapy and radiotherapy to kill off all these seedlings. And they were like, one, it doesn't work like that. And two, it really, granulosa cell tumor doesn't react to chemotherapy in that way because it is such a slow growing cancer. So originally I had thought they were doing all these scans to see if they was getting to a point, you know, when they were doing the 3 months, and then I asked them to go 6 months because it was, you know, just a bit much. And there's that thing where they can tip you into having cancer because you're getting so much radio, whatever it is, in the CT scan, the radio stuff. And I thought they were trying to get to see to the point at which it started growing quick enough to react to chemotherapy. Now, when I went to see her and I said that to her, you know, is it now growing fast enough for the chemotherapy to work? And she goes, well, that's not really how it works. And I'm like, that's kind of how you explained it to me 10 years ago. But then I knew a lot less about granulosa cell tumor and cancer and so on and so forth back then. So maybe she explained it to me in a way that I could understand it back then. Anyway, long and short, they are now offering chemotherapy. And I think they would have offered it before, but when I went in, I'd always said, well, there's no point in having it because it doesn't work. And if you have a mindset of it's not going to work, then it's not going to work. And I'd gone in with these. So granulosa cell tumor is caused by, usually in 80 to 90% of cases, it's caused by a FOXL2 mutation. So I'd go in asking for the gene therapy for the FOXL2. That's experimental, which means it's America or it's Australia. The Australians are really good at research into this stuff. I think the Australians are far better than any other country for research into this stuff. But I might not have all the information. And sound therapy. So there's a little thing that you swallow and then sound waves are no, it was too widespread for that. It was too widespread for radiotherapy and all the rest. And chemotherapy, I was just like, no, because my understanding was it didn't work because it was too slow going. And I could see all these people in other countries getting chemotherapy. And I thought, well, theirs must be faster growing or whatever. But anyhow, whatever way we want about it, going all around the houses, I was offered chemotherapy. So I had a very difficult decision to make because I really wanted to cure this myself. And I've read great friends who send me all sorts of books and all sorts of recommendations. So I've read Answer Cancer by Stephen Parkall, or Parkall. I have Chris Works, Square One. I'm a member of his program, which now that I'm going for chemotherapy, I probably have to come out of. Dr. William Lee, Eat to Beat Disease. Anita Morjani's Dying to Be Me. I read an ocean of mindset books, Vishen Lakhiani, Earl Nightingale, Cyber-Cybernetics, which is all about whatever you believe in your head is what, you know, if you believe you have a big nose, you can have surgery and change your nose, but you still believe you have a big nose, so therefore surgery really doesn't matter because it's what you believe. It's a bit like what Henry Ford says. If you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. Tony Robbins, Bob Proctor, oceans and oceans of I'm just sitting here looking at my beside me, the books I have beside me right now, would be Energy Healing, Donna Eden, and I watch her stuff all the time. The Emotion Code, introduced to that by Karen. A Message of Hope from Angels by Lawrence Byrne. That's the third book of hers I'm going to read. And Gospel of Mary Magdalene, which is really strange that I ended up in hospital on her feast day, 22nd of July. Oceans and oceans and oceans of stuff about mindset, about visualizing my health, focusing on the healthy bits, focusing on gratitude, not toxic positivity by any stretch of the imagination. But when my right knee is really, really sore, concentrating on the fact that my left knee is is still strong and healthy, that type of thing. So you're not ignoring the pain, but you're focusing on the health. I tried the diets. I couldn't do the juicing because of diverticulitis. So when this recurrence happened, June 2023, I got the test results from the November before, and I knew by the level of results that the cancer was back. And so I had to have a scan in the August and got it confirmed in the September. And because I was trying the diet so hard at that stage, I ended up in hospital, diverticular flare, because drinking the beetroot and the carrot juice, everything was flowing through me so well that it inflamed the bowel too much, and I was put on to a beige diet, which was everything that all the other diets told me I shouldn't be eating: white bread, chicken, all that kind of stuff. Bread because it turns to sugar and stuff, and you shouldn't be on sugar and so on and so forth. I had a really difficult time mentally with that I was eating in my head all the stuff I should not be eating if I wanted to combat cancer. I was doing aromatherapy. I was having lymphatic drainage reflexology. Links to Pink, the cancer charity, got me the lymphatic drainage, gifted me the lymphatic drainage reflexology, and gifted me a cold water bath for the back garden. So it was cold water dipping, doing all the stuff. But then, as I say, way back then in the December 23, December 23, I ended up in hospital, and it took an awfully long time to recover from that bout of illness. And so I would say, and I do Chris work and the oceans of people that have cured themselves. I also read the book Spontaneous Remission. There's oodles and oodles and oodles of documentation of people having cured themselves. The medical world don't really look at it because it doesn't fit their narrative. And I love that they've been able to do that for themselves. And I wish I could do it for me, but I can't. Not because it hasn't worked, it probably would work, but I can't stick to it for some reason. Whatever is in my personality or my nature, I can't stick to it. And that's okay. This was meant to be my path for whatever reason, because this is what is happening now. So there's no two ways. I'm not doing the whole if I could have, I couldn't, end off. And I love that people love me enough to say, stop eating sugar, start drinking your carrots. You should be having a pound of carrots a day. I have difficulty eating one carrot a day. The carrot a day it kind of soaks up the estrogen a bit and helps. And I don't. They had at one stage offered me like a letrozole type thing that would completely wipe out the estrogen in the body. The difficulty for me is all the side effects of that, the brain fog and the pains in your joints and stuff. And I'm self-employed, kind of need to keep the brain sharp to do all the stuff I need to do. I don't want to be in pain every day, with joint pains and so on and so forth. And you're on it for life. The chemotherapy, different thing. You're on it for 6 cycles, which would be about, not quite 6 months, depending on when I start. Holidays and whether I take too ill to be able to have it and so on and so forth. But by summer, it should all be over. Whereas once you're on the likes of the letrozole or the Luprin or whatever, you're on that nearly for life. And so I'd rather look at natural ways that I can lower my estrogen without it negatively impacting on my health. And that's where your carrots and so on and so forth come in. And eating kiwi, Dr. William Lee, from the research that he has pulled together into his book, you can rewrite your DNA with, and this is very simplistic, go and read the book, with 3 kiwi a day. I can't eat 3 kiwi a day. And this is the really ridiculous thing. I can eat coffee. I can eat coffee. No, I can't. I can drink coffee, decaffeinated coffee, all day long. But I find it really difficult to drink water. I find it difficult to eat the 1 carrot a day and to eat 2 kiwis a day. Never mind 3. But if you sent me down a box of biscuits or a box of chocolates, not a problem. I'll eat those, no bother. Um, so it's just not within my gift. So I love that people are concerned about me. Thank you very much. I love the advice I'm getting from people in that they've read something somewhere and they want to share that with me. And that's trust me, I've been doing this for 10 years. I do I do follow Dr. Barbara O'Neill. Thinks she's fabulous. But again, can't. I don't have the money to fly off to Montana or wherever she is to go to her farm and stay there for a month to be cured. So I'm asking you. I'm going into my receiving year, and I'm going to ask you for things. And I don't know what all of this means for my business. I if I'm too ill, I won't be able to host the healing circles in the same way that I did once a month. But I would hope that the way the chemo falls and the dates of the healing circles fall, I will be able to do those. I don't think I'll be able to do a retreat in March the way I planned, but I would sincerely hope that I would be able to do the day retreat in June. The emails up until now, I think have been coming fairly regularly in the last couple of months. I think I've been doing a Wellbeing Wednesday for the last couple of months. I'm not very consistent with things. Autism and ADHD. I like routine. I like novelty. So sometimes it works and it's every Wednesday, and other times it kind of floats about a bit. But I have been doing Wellbeing Wednesdays, which has been a blog, a piece for the newspaper, and an email and a Facebook post, which is all kind of based on the same thing and written slightly differently for the different audiences. I don't know that I'll feel up to that. The podcasts are nearly always weekly in the season. So a series for me would have run from kind of March to June, and then September, October to December time. So I would have been going into series 4 now rather than finishing off series 3. So I don't know what this might just be a wee standalone one. I don't know what's going to happen to them. I don't know whether I will have the energy to talk to other people or just do this myself and update you on how it's going for me. So the stuff I'm asking you for is if you pray or you do Reiki healing or you send positive vibes. But every time I go up to the hospital, either hospital, I'm reminded of how many people are ill with a whole variety of things, whether it's mental health issues or physical issues or both, whether it's struggles from having birth, their children being ill, whatever. Our hospitals are full. So please don't just send it to me. Send it to anyone who needs it and the people that care for them. Because, yes, you meet nurses who are not maybe the best representatives of the nursing profession. But I bet you 9 times out of 10 that's because they're absolutely exhausted. And if you met them on a good day when they weren't quite so tired, they would be lovely, lovely, lovely people. But there's the caterers and the porter staff and the nursing auxiliaries, assistants, whatever they're called now. There are the surgeons and the oncologists and the pharmacists, the cleaners. Do you know, there's There's the background team, the administrators and the IT guys and the people that pay the wages. So whether it's for GP surgeries, receptionists, front of house staff, the people that work in the cafes, whomever. The carers, as in the family members that care, the community team, because I have the palliative care team looking after me eventually. So if you're sending healing vibes or Reiki or prayers, can you send it to it? And for me, it would just be for anybody that needs it. And that encompasses all. You don't have to go through the whole list the whole time. If you do meditation, can you do a metta meditation, which is loving kindness and sending loving kindness? So you imagine this love, and it usually comes from a memory. That one time the baby smiled at you or held your finger, whatever, that just absolutely fills you up. And then you send that, you imagine that as like a light or an electrical impulse or something that you send out. First of all, to the people in your room, to your family, and then to your community, whatever community means to you, to your village, your town, your city, your country, your continent, and then the whole world. And a very important bit is right at the end, you imagine everybody sending it back to you. So it's a lovely, lovely thing because you're giving it out, but you're getting back for yourself at the end. So prayers, Reiki, healing, again, to anybody that needs it. Meditation, if that's your kind of thing. I have a wish list on Amazon if anybody wants to help out, because I sort of saying, not only is the sticking to the diet and doing the aromatherapy and the reflexology and the dipping and all the rest, it is not for the faint-hearted, but neither is it for people who don't have much money, because the supplements alone are horrific. If you're doing all of the supplements every day, I don't, because it was just too damn expensive. And there wasn't enough proof for me that what was being recommended would have worked for my granulosa cell tumor. Not mine, the granulosa cell tumor. If there had been a closer link, so I do have a list of supplements in there that are for me, but they are for me. I'm not taking the whole list that people would recommend. Those are ones I've researched and thought, that sounds like it's going to work better for me and my circumstances. So there's a wish list on Amazon. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to work or not, as the case may be, and I still have bills to pay. So there's my little book, my own little book, Embrace a Journey to Emotional Wellbeing. It's not very big. It's not very long. Wouldn't take it. It's the Kindle version is 77p, so I get about 20p of that. The full version, the paperback copy, is $4.99. So I get about £1. But if you've already bought it and you enjoyed it, could you leave me a review on Amazon if you haven't already done so? Because that lets other people know. And kind of in the review, if you talk about why you found it helpful, so that other people can see whether it might work for them. I have an app, Kaleidoscope the app, and I'll put the links for the book and the app down below, which is my Embraces program, and it's 6 videos, and it goes through kind of how and why we feel stress in the body and the biology of that, doing the body scan to see what am I feeling and where am I feeling it. Meditation, the different types of meditation, which deepens your resilience zone. It's not good in the middle of a panic attack, but it deepens the resilience zone so that the panic attacks become less and less. Breathing, some of which, and there's a whole host of types of meditation and a whole host of types of breathing. Some very, very good for in the middle of a panic attack, and others good for deepening the resilience, and some really good for sleep. And some for good for energy, for getting you, when you're really tired, you can do some breathing to lift things. Redirect, which is kind of mindfulness, how to take your, so if your right knee sore, how to take your mind away from that pain. And that's not to say don't do anything about the pain. Go and see a GP or whoever if you need to. But in the moment, sometimes it's a case of, I really just, I need to take my mind off this because it's not assisting in any way. Attitude of gratitude, caring, so the 5 pillars, physical, mental, spiritual, social, and intellectual. EFT tapping and sleep. Each of those videos are up to an hour. I think the first 2 are the longest ones. They're $9.99 each on their own, but they're £49 for the whole lot. So that would be really great if people could start buying that, because that would help me to keep paying my bills, because I've got to keep paying the insurance on the car and the car tax. My credit card, I got a bounce back loan in COVID. I'm still paying that back. So, but I'm not asking for handouts. I'm asking, there's my alarm. Got to go to the GP. So those things are there. If you see me advertising on Facebook or LinkedIn or whatever, if you can share it, or if you can comment on it, and up to 5 words, because that, there's algorithms behind all of these things. And if you say, and social media is about being social, it's about making connections, and it's about having conversations. So if I put a post and you like it and share it, it's fantastic. But if you like it and you actually say something up to 5 words so that it looks like we're getting a conversation starting, then the algorithm really loves that. What else? I think that's it. I think that's it. So there's like absolutely free options. Pray for me, which are not free because you're giving me your time, and I really, really appreciate it. But monetarily, it doesn't cost any money. Prayers, healing, or good vibes. Comment on my posts, particularly the ones where I'm selling the book. She says shamelessly, product placing the book again, or the app. Encourage your friends to buy those things. And I suppose the thing I'm asking for the most would be the grace and the patience, because you might not get the emails the same way. You might not get the podcasts as regularly. You might not get the newspaper articles or the Facebook posts or whatever. There might be times where I just go quiet. And equally, I would say, if for those that live close invite me for coffee or whatever, and I say no, that is not a slight on you. I might not want to talk about anything. I might not want to leave the house if I'm not feeling particularly well. I might just not be up to it, and I might not even feel like explaining that I'm not up to it. It might just be a no, thank you, not today. And again, I would ask for your grace in those circumstances, and for you to believe that it's not about you, it's about me. It's about me not feeling in the place that I can do that right. So yes, not easy news to tell, not easy news to hear. And I suppose the thing, yes, I am going for the chemotherapy, but the thing that, and again, this completely threw me, was I needed to have my flu and my COVID and have them at least 7 to 10 days before treatment would start. So I haven't even contacted the hospital yet to say I'm going to start treatment, because that's what I'm going to GP for today, is to get my flu, because that sent me in a complete tailspin, because I was like, but I trust my body's immune system. Why would I be doing this to myself? And then I went, well, if you're having problems taking flu, why are you taking chemotherapy? And that just sent me into a whole other, oh my God, why would I poison? Why would I poison myself? Because that's essentially what it is. You poison the whole system. It has taken me years to get my immune system to the place it is now. Why on earth would I poison myself there? But I've now resolved that in my own head. I'm going for my flu jab today. I'm going for my COVID jab on Thursday. I'm seeing the dentist on Thursday. And so it'll probably be mid-January, kind of like the 19th, 18th, 18th of Sunday. So 19th of January, when I start chemotherapy. So I thank you in advance for your patience, your prayers, your understanding, and your love. And I send you all of my love and wish you good health.